Daryl Morey did it. The Philadelphia 76ers have finally landed the all-star caliber player they have been looking for since forever at this point. And Morey proved us all wrong when we called him dumb for not taking lower offers for Ben Simmons. The Nets got Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and picks in return for James Harden and Paul Millsap. This is one of the biggest trade deadline moves in NBA history. And the most interesting part about the trade is it went down between two contenders in the same conference. And usually, teams don't trade with their own rivals. But the situation here was so dire, it had to happen. James Harden is now in Philadelphia with Joel Embiid, and Ben Simmons is now in Brooklyn with Kevin Durant and 50% of Kyrie Irving. And now, let's talk about how good of a fit Harden and Embiid are, because I have a lot of thoughts on it.
They be like, what? Can you teach me how to dirty? You know why? Cause all the bitches love it. All I need is a beat that's super bumpin'. And for you to back it up and dump it.
Leave a like on this video and subscribe if you haven't already. I drop regular NBA content, and with the NBA season going on, this should interest you. So do subscribe to the channel. James Harden and Joel Embiid are two of the best 10 or 15 players in the league right now. Both of them dominate games in different ways, but one thing they definitely do is dominate games. Neither of them have played with a player as skilled as the other person before. Harden has never played with a center as dominant and skilled as Joel Embiid, and Embiid has never played with a player as talented in creating shots both for himself and other players in James Harden. So both of them will definitely have to adjust to each other's play styles. Harden's entire offense is surrounded around the threat of his drive and step back. He's at his best alongside a rim-rolling center and a bunch of shooters, as he maximizes everyone around him in this type of offense. Joel Embiid is not a rim-rolling center. He isn't a bad one, but he isn't a great one either. He usually likes to stop at the free throw line and generate offense from there. So the pick and roll ceiling of this duo is pretty limited as of right now, with Harden's decline as a finisher this season. The way this roster is constructed right now, Harden cannot be the same player he was in Houston or the player he was in Brooklyn for stretches this year. He cannot be the guy who takes super long possessions and takes tough step backs, which is struggling to make in the end of the Brooklyn stint. Firstly, the main thing which Harden needs to do is get healthy. There was a report that he's not going to come back this weekend and that he's going to take a while, which makes sense because the 76ers can afford to wait for some games for Harden to come back, something which the Brooklyn Nets couldn't. This is more important because healthy Harden checks many boxes for the 76ers team. He'll be a very high level passer, a perimeter shot creator, and a dribble type shot creator, and these are all things the 76ers have been lacking for a while. And Harden fills all these boxes. He's also a very good entry passer, something the 76ers have been desperate to find for Embiid. He can play like Houston Harden in non-Embiid minutes and make those lineups be better. Because as of right now, the 76ers are 7 points worse per 100 possessions with Embiid off the floor. Right now at this point of Harden's career, Embiid is a superior offensive player in my opinion. The entire Philadelphia team is built around Embiid, not Harden. So the player who has to adjust the most in this situation is James Harden. Firstly, he has to start showing effort on defense again. Harden this year has legitimately been one of the worst defenders in the entire league. This is just because he's not showing any effort. Harden can be a positive defender. In my opinion, he developed into a non-negative defender in the latter year of the Houston stint and in the first year in Brooklyn. And secondly, he needs to commit to playing off-ball at least a little bit. He doesn't have to be Steph Curry or Klay Thompson or Reggie Miller, but he needs to make basic rotations, like moving from the corner to the wing when Embiid is being doubled, cutting in when he has an open opportunity, and just making basic reads off-ball and be a passable off-ball player at the minimum. And as I said before, this entire Philadelphia team is built around Joel Embiid, the superior player at this point in their careers. So Harden needs to learn how to play off of Embiid and hit spot-up jumpers and commit to being an average off-ball player while taking a lesser of an on-ball load in Embiid lineups. This is something I obviously cannot say definitively because I don't know Harden personally, but I believe Harden can do this. A lot of his frustrations with the Nets this season were them forcing him to carry a massive offensive load, when the whole selling point of him coming to Brooklyn was him not having to carry such a large offensive load, especially through an injury. So if Embiid is the guy who'll carry the most offensive load, Harden will get what he wanted while being able to be himself in brief stretches when Embiid is off the court. And of course, for any star duo to work, both the players need to make adjustments. Embiid this year has improved a lot as a screen setter and an off-ball big man. He isn't an elite big man or anything, but he's improved a lot in this department. For Embiid and Harden to have an elite two-man game, Embiid needs to continue taking strides like he has been this season as a screen setter and a rim roller. And Harden needs to learn how to maximize Embiid even when he stops at the free throw line, because that's where Embiid is at his own best. Running a high pick and roll, for example, is something they can do to maximize Embiid and Harden, assuming Harden looks like himself back and gets his burst back after coming back from injury. I'm pretty sure they'll be able to do this and manage to maximize this with more and more reps going into the playoffs, because whether you like Harden or not, he is one of the greatest offensive players of all time and one of the most brilliant offensive players and one of the most brilliant basketball minds we've ever seen. The fit definitely isn't perfect. To bring out the best from this duo, they need to be staggered, and one of them should always be on the floor with lineups catering to their strengths. This will allow the 76ers to have a ridiculous offense at all times. Guys like Tobias Harris, Tyrese Maxey, Danny Green, and their good role guys are great supporting pieces for these stars. This duo has a lot of potential. Even if the fit between both of them isn't perfect, having two of the best offensive players who have some of the best scoring gravity we have ever seen will work to a certain extent at the minimum, with the potential of being better based on the adjustments both these players make. So the question at the end is this duo going to work? If the right adjustments are made and Doc Rivers isn't a terrible coach, it has high chances of working. There will be growing pains. It's not going to be perfect as soon as they start playing together because the fit isn't that beautiful. Making any definitive decisions before even watching them play together is immature in my opinion. But at the end of the day, Daryl Morey got his guy and proved us all wrong. And James Harden is at the minimum going to provide more value than Ben Simmons, who wasn't even playing for them this year. So it's going to be fun to watch them play together. And though it might not be as fun watching them go through these growing pains, it will be worth it all if they figure it out in the end. With that, we've come to the end of the video. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already.